Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. So let's get right into it. I wanted to touch on whether or not it is worth having a conversation or being in interaction with the other woman. So if you've been following my page or you've seen other videos, primarily the reason that I got divorced, the thing that broke the camel's back was infidelity. And I found out that my ex-husband had been cheating on me pretty much our entire marriage and had a girlfriend at least for the last 2 years of our marriage, right? And I found that all out while also finding out that I was pregnant within a 2 week time frame. So yeah, not the funnest thing in the world. So when I found out, I'm not gonna lie to you, I always suspected that the man was cheating. Like, it was just a part of how he moved throughout the entire relationship. And unfortunately, I thought or believed that once he decided to commit to me and marry me, that it would stop. But those behaviors always exhibited themselves like throughout our whole 10-year dating saga. And I just was very naive in believing that, oh, because he wants to marry me, he got it all out of his system, but it was just who he was. So fast forward to our marriage, everything came out pretty much all at once at the tail end. I didn't have any inclination or proof at the beginning, but there were a lot of behaviors that I think I was choosing to keep my blockers on because I just did not want to believe that this was happening to me. And also, for me to find the tangible evidence of whatever was going on, it was impossible at that time. It would have required so much, but I think he just got really comfortable, and towards the end, he just started to get sloppy, and the lies truly just did not make sense. So classic male stupidity of, oh, I have a work trip, or oh, this is for work, or oh, this is for work. Work became too much of an excuse too often. And I also knew that, yeah, no, every week, every Friday, overnight, like this wasn't making any sense. But as it relates to talking to the other woman, I will say this. I sent the bat signal out to her. Yo, he's married. He's married, sis. And some of my friends did too. Like, yo, do you know that the man that you dealing with is married? Wa da 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 da. It was crickets for a very long time, right? So that happened initially in, I want to say, July of 2019. And then August of 2019, I found out I was pregnant. So it was like end of July 2019, I found out he was cheating. August of 2019, same week that August began, I found out I was pregnant. And then boom, everything just started to like come at me as far as information overload. It's amazing how that happens though, because I had relatively no information and then all this information, and it just kept popping up, or things, I'll say that things just started to calculate in my brain, like that, all the things, right? Started to make a lot more sense. So anyway, at any rate, I started to just put everything together. And what I realized is that, okay, well, when I initially reached out, or my friends reached out, letting her know that the man was married and I had no response, I was just like, okay, well, she probably knew. Okay, no surprise there. Things started to like just really crash and burn within our marriage at that point once I found out, because it was just the lies, and it was continuing to happen, right? Like the lies were continuing to happen, but like, I think part of him wanted to, in a weird way, protect me from the emotional turmoil that the pain of being cheated on would put me through while being pregnant. But at the same time, he was also actively trying to keep me there while also getting divorced. It was so much. But fast forward to December of 2019, she reaches out to me and says, hey, essentially, I wanted to provide some clarity. I didn't know he was married. He came out with the truth. Da, 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 da. And if you want to know more, please let me know. And the curiosity killed me at that point, because that is when I then started to say, well, let's have a conversation. And initially, I felt like she was baiting me for information. And I knew that I'm like, this is more so for her than it is for me. And she don't give a shit about, or can I curse? Or she don't give a crap about me, my pregnancy, the marriage, nothing. Like, she just wants to understand how her man was able to do all of this. So I had some preliminary questions like, how did you not know? Because there was no way that she would have ever visited our home, ever, and not known that he was married. Like, it was a married home. Like, his and hers was all over the place. Our wedding pictures were plastered on the wall at the end. As soon as you walk in the living room, boom, there goes our wedding picture. So you cannot tell me that you've ever been to his house. And then you cannot tell me that throughout the whole course of the 2-year relationship you were having with him, like, there weren't questionable things that were going on. My ex-husband was home a lot. Like, he came home. Now, he had a lot of like late nights where he would say he was kicking it with his boys, and now it was probably a mixture of him kicking it with his boys and then also at her house. But I will say a good 90%, 95% of the week, homeboy was home unless he was traveling for work. So I'm just like, girl, how did you not know? And she gave me some stupid excuse. She never saw his ring. And also, the thing that really messed me up was she claimed that she met his family. And I was like, how, Sway? Because they know me. We're actively married. We go to family events together. So how are you telling me that you're in relationship to some extent with his family? Make it make sense. So that part, but the point of this conversation is just whether or not it's worth talking to the other woman once you found out that you've been cheated on. And I say no. There have been very small instances with some of my friends or people that I know that have had interaction with the other women, and it's been beneficial just from our information stake. And I can appreciate that when that happens and it's in a good space. But 90% of the time, the woman that is the other woman is scorned. And likely, if she's been dealing with a man that's been in a relationship for so long, and she's already tied to that. So I think her motive is going to be more so making sure that you're out the way, making sure she gets what she needs in order to push you out the way, and essentially have a pissing contest with you about everything that, she needs to do in order to secure her spot now. And that was my situation. Now, let me just provide this like caveat. I have been contacted by a wife before. There was a man that this was before marriage and dating and all that stuff with my ex-husband, but I went out on a date twice with a man. It was a lunch and a coffee. And I wasn't really interested in him, but, I was just going out, just trying to explore. And then maybe 2 weeks after just interacting with him and going out with him, I got a phone call like, hey, do you know my husband, such and such? And I was like, what? Wait a minute now. I will say this. When I went on a date with him, I suspected something because there were some questions that I would ask him and there was like a hesitancy or a delay. And I'm just like, my spidey sense were tingling like, he lying about something. But I couldn't put my finger on it. And honestly, because I wasn't so interested in him, I really didn't like go into like my private eye investigator mode to figure out what the heck was going on with this dude. But I knew something was up. So our progression into a third date was super slow because I wasn't interested, and he was also slow to like follow up and respond, likely because dude was married. But anyway, fast forward. Woman reached out to me and she asked me a few questions, and I initially didn't mind talking to her, right? Because I knew, for me, I don't mess around with stuff like that. If I find out somebody contact me, that's my man, whatever, sis, you can have him. I'm good. Like, I ain't fighting over no man like that. Like, that's embarrassing. No, thank you. And with her, she was kind of polite about it. I just want you to know that he's married. Okay, now I know. And I didn't know then, but what do you want to know? So she asked me, like, how'd you meet him? What was the interaction? Did him and I have any sexual relations? I gave her all the details. I told her exactly where we met, what time we met, how I got his number, or how he got my number, whatever the exchange was. I told her everything. And then I said, hey, you don't even have to worry about me ever again, because me and him are no longer, I don't mess around with married men. I don't do that, and I'm good. So you don't have to worry about me. Leave me alone. So she was respectful after that. I never heard from her again, and that was that. So I say all that to say that there are small instances and certain women that will take my approach and be like, sis, what you want to know? I'm good. I don't want them. But I think when women are invested into the relationship already, and then they find out that they've been betrayed this whole time, and there's either a wife or a girlfriend, to me, a lot of the emotional like connection, a lot of them, and mostly with women with low self-esteem, they're going to stick right there in that relationship, no matter how wrong it is. And in my case, that is exactly what happened. Having a conversation with her messed me up more than anything, because she lied to me a lot of things. Like, I know now that she lied to me about a lot of things. And her motive for getting information from me was strictly for her. Like, it was not because she was remorseful. It was not because she felt any type of way about being with a married man. It was more so, let me get as much as I can so I know how to catch him when he's cheating, right? Ridiculousness. But for me, it just opened the door of insecurity and like comparison and all these things that I didn't have in the front of my mind that are now in the front of my mind. And then it's just like the I can't believe, right? I think that if I would have just left things as is and not ever spoken to her, I would have been better off emotionally, especially during my pregnancy, because there was so much information that was shared that now I felt like I had to follow up on, more so from a like investigative standpoint. And it put me in a headspace of trying to get answers that I would probably never get the full truth about, which was a total mind F, okay? And because of that, I don't recommend anybody to get in contact with the other woman or get answers from the other woman. I couldn't rely on my ex-husband to give me answers. I probably should have just been okay with the unknown and just had enough information about him cheating on me, and that's it. However, in this instance, like, if you have followed like my court series that I shared, you know, domestic violence was in play, and she reached out to me again to share a lot about that. And then she also shared some things about her sexual health that were concerning. And in that regard, I don't regret knowing some information, but at the same time, I think you're setting yourself up for a trap in emotional, like, tornado or hurricane, so to speak, by being in contact with the other woman. I feel like women who are okay with being with a man that has cheated on them and cheating on somebody else or actively cheated in their marriage have like low self-esteem and typically do not have respect for themselves. And for you to be in contact with somebody like that while they're trying to bait you for whatever motives they have, and then you're trying to get answers, like, it's going to be a crosswire of information that is inaccurate, not helpful, and it's going to leave you emotionally impacted, because now you have to be faced with the what she looks like, what she talk like, where she work, you know, comparing, oh, she has a better job than me, or vice versa. Like, don't do that to yourself. Don't do that to yourself. I regret doing that to myself, because homegirl over there was a wreck, an emotional wreck. And she treated things later a lot like down the line as a competition, like, well, he's my man now type of behavior. And while she didn't say that overtly, like, she kept saying certain things in our conversation, like, well, he's been my boyfriend for 2 years. And I'm like, but yo, you are actively talking to his wife. Like, we are not divorced. He still lives at home. Like, how are you saying this to me right now? He's been my boyfriend for 2 years. Like, what? You sound crazy. But that just shows that at that point in the conversation, when all of these things were being shared, like, it was a lot. And my position on the conversation for her sake was more so like, yo, we've been married X amount of time. I don't know what he may have told you. I don't know, whatever. I'm also pregnant. All these things. I was intending to, like, hey girl, like, I'm not trying to take him or stake my claim, but he's actively married. And I don't know what you plan on doing with that, but I'm actively pregnant as well. And it's not a good look for you. Whatever she decided to do with that, she decided to do with that. Homegirl decided that she was going to let him stay at her house while his pregnant wife had him out of the house. He told me, well, let me back up. So when I was pregnant and all of this stuff like was just coming out, he couldn't be in the house with me. Like, I could not have him in the house with me. I wanted to have as much of a peaceful pregnancy as possible. But he was definitely in and out. He would come get clothes. He would do all these things. So like, and then occasionally like try to like mend us, but then at the same time we're going through a divorce, and then we would go house shopping to get another house. Like, it was so much confusion. And he told me at the time, like, oh, I'm staying in a hotel, blah blah blah, but that was a lie. He was staying at her house. He was seeking refuge at her house. Okay, so yeah, that tells you a lot about that state of mind, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, this woman knew that he had a wife. She was actively pregnant. Wife kicked him out the house. And he decided that he was going to ask her to stay there. And she allowed it with her daughter at that. With her daughter. So the conversations that her and I had, like, were just not beneficial, because to me, the way that she moved in this relationship is more so as okay, well, let me secure my spot and make sure he has everything he needs in me. And that way he'll be committed to me now and leave her, and boom, we're together now. So fast forward to all of the domestic violence and all of that stuff that came out during my court case. I'm like, boo-boo, how are you surprised? First of all, that he was cheating on you, okay, in attempt to try to get back with me, his ex-wife, craziness, and all these other women. How are you surprised? How are you surprised? I also shared with her when we first had our initial interaction, when I was like first pregnant, about his like dark ways and domestic violence and emotional abuse and things like that. So for her to be calling me like, he hit me and he called me a worthless bee and ba ba ba, I'm like, girl, again, why are we surprised? I told you all these things. I didn't tell you these things because I was making stuff up. Like, I literally went through these things, and me thinking woman to woman, we're having a conversation. In her mind, I don't know what she was doing with that information. Like, it came in one ear and out the other, because she continued on. Like, it just didn't matter. So for her to call me now 2 years later, when my son is 2 years old, like, he beat me, he did this, and he said that. And I'm like, why are we surprised? But ultimately, my interaction with the other woman just didn't serve me well at all. I think your best bet when you're in these type of situations where there's a other woman or another man or whatever, you take that information, you cut ties, and you move the F on. Because I think that having interaction with that third party does more damage to you internally than you think it would. And like I mentioned, I personally will always be like, what's up? What you want to know? If anybody were to ever call me again on that's my man, you went on a date with my husband, I'm be like, okay, heard you, sis, what you need to know. And after we have this conversation, I don't want to hear from you ever again. But a lot of women do not do that. Likely because, we know the dating pool is kind of tough out there, and opportunities and relationships are kind of hard to come by. So a lot of women are just accepting a lot of BS. And in this situation, in my situation, like, clearly she was willing to accept a married man lying to her for the course of their entire relationship, with a baby on the way, married, family, all that stuff. And she was willing to accept all of that. those women to unfortunately exist more than the other type of women that will be like, oh hell no. You know what I'm saying? He married, I'm straight. Like, no, there's more women that will accept having a piece of a man, right? Versus, just letting it go and seeing the blessings that will come your way, by choosing better. And that's unfortunate, but it's the truth. But the whole like, oh, I'm in a relationship, I'm married, I'm all these things, and then I find out that he's with Jane Doe over there, and I'm gonna come after Jane Doe, or I'm gonna ask her questions. Tread lightly with that, because depending on who that person is on the other side, her character, her integrity, her self-esteem, all of those things will either make that interaction an eye-opening moment for you to collect whatever you need to collect as far as data gathering, or it will put you in an emotional conundrum about what exactly you're dealing with and who you're dealing with and all of that stuff. And I will say, it doesn't matter. Like, men are going to do whatever they're going to do. Women are going to do whatever they're going to do. It's up to you to decide whether or not that's going to serve you or whether you can deal with that. I know for me, I couldn't deal with that. I could never, 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 never knowingly deal with a man that is in relationship. I can say that confidently. People be like, never say never because you never know. I can never be in a relationship knowingly with someone that has had another person or is deceptive towards somebody in that moment. Like, no, no. And there have been attempts, but I was born into that. And I understand how much of a stressor that is on not only the other woman, but any children involved and things like that. Not only that, but why would I put myself in competition with another woman over a man? No, 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 no. Think twice before choosing to interact with the other woman. Like, this ain't no love and hip hop BS where we gonna fight and all this stuff. Like, I don't live that life. I could tussle now. I will, but I'm in a point in my life where that is just not the way I'm living. I want to live my soft girl era. And I think that women that pursue that type of relationship, regardless of all of the things that came with it, they got their thing coming to them. I mean, in my situation, she got hers coming to her. She got it good. Hopefully by now, like, things have straightened out for whatever they decided to do with themselves in their relationship. But she got exactly the same treatment and then some for what happened to me. And I won't listen. There are instances where men are able to deceive women and say, oh, I'm not in a relationship or not, whatever. They can tell whatever stories to women, but please have discernment and really think about what's being said to you. Think about the environment. If you can't go to a man's house over a 3-month span, like, of y'all dating, if you can't scope out the scene and see what's going on, see what's in the bathroom cabinets, if you can't do that, there's a problem, okay? If you cannot meet his entire family over 2 years, there's a problem. Like, whatever is being told to you, you always want to make sure that you feel comfortable with that. And in this instance, with my marriage, I don't understand how she could have not known over 2 years of being in a relationship and over 5 years of knowing my ex-husband that he was married. Like, that was impossible. And I will say this, I wouldn't be surprised if she probably met some of his family members, maybe a sibling or two. I wouldn't be surprised, just because there have been behaviors externally that have shown other things by other people that I'm just like, that's inappropriate. But at the same time, like, there was a lot that was hidden from her, and she was hidden for a while. But at the same time, like, we gotta be smarter about these type of situations. And to me, the other woman is typically not the problem unless she comes and interjects and tries to beat her chest and make this a competition. Like, in my case, that is what homegirl did. So she gets all the smoke. Dodo Bird gets all the smoke from this point on, because she tried to come at me as if I was the one intervening in her relationship when I was the one married to the man, right? And then the things that she did to make sure that he was under her wing, I'm just like, girl, you were lame for this, right? At that point, there was a lot of points in our relationship where I was just like wiping my hands, like, I'm good. I'm good. Let me get this divorce. Let's finalize this divorce. Let me have my child and we'll just go move on. But she brought stuff to me and I'm just like, what is wrong with you? And in that particular situation, I do think that, being in cahoots in conversation in anything with the other woman, misconstrues what the relationship is, because she probably felt comfortable reaching out to me with all this added information once he decided to put his hands on her and did all these things allegedly, whatever, because I had been in conversation with her before. If I had not been in conversation with her before, then maybe how she came at me with all this information wouldn't have happened. Ultimately, it was a blessing in disguise, because I was able to figure out ways to protect my child, and my parenting plan and all of that got crafted as a result of what she decided to share with me. But at the beginning, me being in contact with her didn't serve me at all. It really messed me up emotionally. It really sent me in a spiral of comparison. It really it made me feel crazy. I would never put myself in that predicament again. However, if a woman ever calls you and says, this is my man, or he's married, or whatever, it's up to you whether or not you want to divulge any further information. I would advise that you wash your hands of the situation, whether you want to share information with her or not. Just be like, you ain't got to worry about me. And exit stage left. Because you're trying to win that man, honestly, in the long run, it's still going to hurt you. It's going to hurt you. And I don't believe in any woman benefiting positively off of another woman's heartbreak. Never. 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 So anyway, that's my 2 cents. Don't be out here chastising or reaching out to the other woman. If you're the woman in the relationship that's being played and you find out your man is married, don't you come after that woman. He's your problem, and cut ties immediately. And vice versa. You find out your husband, your longtime partner, whatever, is cheating on you. Go ahead over there if you want to, but I doubt that it's going to serve you. Cut ties. You deserve better. Keep it pushing and be out of that. All right? Anyway, if my content resonates with you, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. You can also find me on all social media channels shared on the screen right there. And I'll catch y'all next week, okay? Bye!